Hawkeye quarterback Mark Gronowski working out with his receivers. Are they ready to pop in 2025?
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're there. If you're listening on the podcast side, 5-star reviews. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As mentioned, I'm Trent Condon, been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio. You can hear me currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. We have stations fanned across the state: Sioux City, the Quad Cities, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and our flagship 106.3 KXNO. You can hear me weekdays from noon till 2. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark, an injury once again keeping her out, a different injury, but is it all coming back to the same thing? We will get into that. We'll also be joined by David Eickholt, a look back at his look at open practice for Iowa basketball last week. We'll get his perspective on what he saw on the hardwood with Ben McCullum's squad. But something interesting I thought the other day, as there was a tweet that was put out of Mark Gronowski hanging out with a number of his receivers. He is in North Texas in a facility, and he is hanging out with Jeff Christensen. You might remember that name. His son, Jake Christensen, was a Hawkeye quarterback in the mid-aughts to the late-aughts before moving on to Eastern Illinois. He was a great hope for many people. Didn't pan out at a high level, but certainly good to see him out there, former NFL quarterback, and helping out a Hawkeye in Mark Gronowski. And you can understand the connection. Illinois guys, Naperville, obviously for Gronowski, as we've talked about in the past, in the connection there, as they were working out in a facility down in North Texas, which I thought was very interesting. You know, this is not us in high school going out to the park and throwing some routes with your wide receivers, right? A little bit different the way that they have set up there. And in the NIL era, the ability to have a little extra money to make your way down and to be able to work out in different areas of the country. But Mark Gronowski is there working out with four other guys that are in the picture. Addison Ostrenga, tight end, Sam Phillips, KJ Parker, and Jacob Gill. And it led to, at least for me, a little speculation. Some speculation about some names on this list that we're wondering about. And I think you start with Addison Ostrenga. Addison Ostrenga now taking over at that tight end position. A guy that has been around, has been making some plays, and has been, though, in a backup role. He's popped a couple of different times. We've seen him get in the end zone last year, had 2 touchdowns in 2023, 31 catches in that decrepit offense of 2023. So I guess that's a high watermark, right? That's something that you can get excited about. I just wonder if there's another gear. And last year, the tight end position, even with Luke Lachey coming back off the injury, and I think we could see Luke Lachey wasn't completely at 100% a year ago. But that aside, if Addison Ostrenga, 6'4", 250 pounds, he's got some wheels, he can make some moves. If he's got another gear that he can get up into and take that jump. And good to see him, obviously, they're working out with Mark Gronowski. The other part of the tight end position wasn't in this picture, but we're going to see this year from Zach Ortworth, another guy that shown some signs, showed a few things. And then you get into the young guys and, kind of Thomas Meyer hit the ground running and jump out and help this team at the tight end position. And one of those young tight ends is going to be able to step up. The other guys in the picture from the wide receiver position, you have Sam Phillips. Start with Sam Phillips. In from Chattanooga, speed to burn, highly productive at UT Chattanooga. Now you're taking a step up, obviously, in competition, going from the FC ranks up to the FCS ranks, to the FBS ranks. But this guy definitely has size. Now, he's little. And if you saw him at all at the open practice in spring, that's something that jumps off. He is not a tall guy by any means. Looking at his highlight package, though, he was a guy that was able to go up in space, got leaping ability, and could go up and make some plays. But his speed element, adding something that Iowa hasn't had, certainly recently in the offense. KJ Parker is out of this group, maybe the most intriguing guy, just because we've continued to hear now about KJ Parker the last 2 seasons. We heard about him as he showed up on campus last year, people wondering if he was going to be able to find a role. And he's been kind of the buzz guy of the spring and into the summer. When you're talking about really under the radar guys, it seems like KJ Parker is one of those guys that continues to come up. And then finally, Jacob Gill, who was a godsend for Iowa a year ago. After just what we've gone through at the wide receiver position, to see a guy that was out there, knew what he was doing, knew how to run routes. I mean, we had a guy that comes in with, 16 career catches from Northwestern, and we were excited about it because he played wide receiver in the Big Ten. That at minimum makes it better than what Iowa saw. A year ago, Jacob Gill, 35 catches, 411 yards, 2 touchdowns. And when you're looking at the production this season, I'm not asking him for double it, but can Jacob Gill now get up to 50 catches? Maybe push that 411 yards up closer to 600 yards per catch up to more like 13 and double up the touchdowns up to 4? If that's your dependable guy. And obviously the other weapons that they have outside, from Reese Vanderzee, who burst onto the scene a year ago, Seth Anderson, as we continue to wait for him to get healthy. We saw a little bit of Dayton Howard a year ago. Caden Weegan, who they're apparently going to be using in this offense. It gets the gears turning just a little bit about what this wide receiver crew can be and what it's going to be for Mark Gronowski coming up this season. But just an interesting one there, and just a little nugget for you. Let's get into some basketball. Coming up next, David Eickholt's going to join us. His thoughts on what he saw at the open practice last week over at the Iowa basketball facility. We'll get his perspective of what he saw firsthand for Ben McCollum's squad. We'll do that next as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Have you ever decided last minute, time to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, and even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes all the worry out of buying. Gametime is an official ticket partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting baseball game. I'm a Twins fan, and though they've fallen on hard times lately, still love to make my way up to Target Field. Cubs, White Sox, Cardinals, Brewers, you name it, they got it, all on the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Got a couple of Hawkeye things I want to run past you.
Let's do it.
Start right here. The decommitment for Cash Herrera, kind of the big news of the week. When you look at that, I know there have been rumblings for a while. Did it begin with Iowa going after, was it Peyton Falcone, the quarterback from Pennsylvania? Is that maybe where the relationship started to sour a little bit?
I'll say this. I think he was, even when Cash committed, Iowa made it abundantly clear that they were going to take 2 quarterbacks in the class. So they were like, hey, like, this is still the plan. We want you, but just so you know, we want to. And honestly, I didn't agree with the decision because look at the portal right now.
Yeah, right.
And it's honestly all about this season. If Mark Gronowski has a massive year and raises his stock and helps change that Iowa passing offense, like, do you know how big of a flex it is going to be for him to walk into an NFL meeting and be like, look what the Iowa offense did with me at the helm. And here's what they've done before. Yeah, Tim Lester is obviously helping. And but, you can go out and get a high transfer quarterback. Oh, you mean Gronowski helped get receivers over 600-700 yards and in 5 or 6 or 7 touchdowns? Okay, well, now you can go sell something to a receiver in the portal. Maybe a little bit more talent there, right? So I think that's kind of the main focus. But the relationship was always good. But obviously, Cash Herrera's stock rose. I mean, he's been committed since, I think, last October. Got Michigan State offered, Indiana offered, and honestly, I think that's where he's going to go. I think he's going to flip to Indiana. He's set to take an official visit there this weekend. I think he's going to commit. But from everything I've been told through a variety of sources, I think this was more Iowa's decision to cut, because we know how they are.
Yes, yeah.
With visiting schools. And It's so funny to me too how Iowa got so much flack for that at the time, and now everybody else
does it. It's
industry
standard, right?
You have to, with all the money that's being thrown around. Heck yeah, I totally agree with the decision to be like, no, you can't go visit anywhere else.
Because they're going to tell you, hey, this is what we got for you. And
Iowa's not going to get into a bidding war with people, man. Like, and that goes for basketball as well. They're not going to do that.
Did the Wake Forest transfer that they got this April, did that also change the equation a little bit? Or maybe put it this way, as they're looking at another now quarterback for the class of 2026, if they don't find the right guy, does that kind of change things?
That's where it gets interesting.
Because he's got 4 years of eligibility,
This is going to be the most next year, right? As of right now, with the way the roster is set up, it is going to be the most open quarterback battle probably since I started covering the beat in 2018. Would you agree? That I do think the Wake Forest guy is going to be a very under the radar dark horse pick to be next year's starting quarterback. I mean, his high school accolades were incredible.
Georgia kid, Jeremy Hecklinski's his name.
A little bit. He's shorter. That's the thing. But I don't think it matters. I think with the way Iowa ran its previous offense, I think you needed a taller quarterback at the time. But Hecklinski can use his legs. Shorter guy, gets rid of the ball quickly. He can make throws at all 3 levels. If you watch his highlight reel from high school, I mean, he was a stud and a very tough competition. I think he was a high 3-star by us, now 4-star. Probably the height hurt him in that department a little bit. Sure. But he was a very sneaky, under the radar, I think, good transfer portal addition. I think, again, you kind of got to go back and give Tim Lester a lot of credit, man, because he's completely revitalized that quarterback room. There's no quarterback from last year's roster that went through spring football. Well, Brendan Sullivan, but we knew that Sullivan was going to probably leave. And again, nobody blamed him.
No, not at all. Not at all. It'd be great to have him in a backup role behind Gronowski, but he certainly saw the writing on the wall. And for his final year of eligibility, definitely understand him looking for a home as he did down in New Orleans. That's a pretty good way to spend your final year of college too, down in New Orleans at Tulane. Final thing for you on the Hawkeye front. David, yesterday, open practice. So we go back to a couple days ago. You see Coach McCullum hooping. And
he's got some handles, man. He burnt Cooper DeJean.
We're the same age. Do you think I could look like that out on the floor?
I mean, I got to see your jumper.
Wow, my jumper's smooth.
Is it?
It's the handles aren't there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why you got spot up shooter.
I don't think I'm going to be guarding Cooper DeJean. We'll just put it that way. I don't think the lateral quickness is there anymore. Well, it's never there, to be honest.
Well, like I said, I was a little bit. I mean, I figured Ben could still hoop, but like again, he burnt Cooper. The only reason why he got blocked is it's Cooper freaking DeJean.
But you got to see the team in action yesterday at an open practice, a half hour.
Actually, they gave us more than that. We were about 50 minutes.
Nice. Yeah. So give us a couple of maybe top of the fold takeaways that you had.
Number one, Brendan Housen was not practicing. He had a sleeve on his leg. He will be back soon for the most part. Alvaro Fulgaris, the Robert Morris transfer, is going to be a very prominent piece of this puzzle. He is not with the team currently. He is over in Spain preparing for the under-20 Worlds. It's high-level competition. I think Ben and company are very supportive of that because he's still playing against top-tier competition. The one player that really surprised me, I should say, incoming freshman Tate Sage.
Oh, yeah?
There were times he was the best player on the floor.
Wow.
Yeah. He hit jumpers, had a couple freshman mistakes, a lot of effort on defense for the most part. Good passer, gave a lot of, had a couple big steals, hit some big shots, athletic finishes. Cam was incredibly athletic. I saw him throw down a couple of alley-oops. By the way, Hawkeye Insider has 20 minutes of highlights from that practice. So you can go check that out as well. Bennett starts, man. Nothing speeds him up. It is incredible. He just plays in such a role within himself. It's really fun to watch. I think Isaiah Howard, he's still piecing it together. I think he could be
he's got a ton of upside.
The upside's crazy high if he can piece it together. Cale Combs is going to be the other primary ball handler, assuming the roster stays at this point. We did talk to Luke Barnwell and Connor Wheeler after the practice, and they said, you know what, they're still open to the idea of taking another guy because with the way the international market works. But again, with the way everything is right now, with even getting visas, and that's not just college basketball. Like we don't need to go off topic, but that's just what it is right now.
You can do that down the hall at WHL.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's still worth noting that that's why part of the reason it's going to be difficult to get international guys, and obviously the academic portion is difficult as well. But the one thing that popped out to me, and I don't want to harp on Fran McCaffrey in the previous regime, I solely want to focus on Ben McCollum. The physicality on defense, man.
Yeah, different.
They is so different. No space for ball handlers. They call out action screen, and Ben McCollum is an intense coach.
Oh yeah,
his voice reigns over everyone. Everybody responds to the yes, coach, yes, sir. Like, he has everything in line right now. We watched him spend 6 minutes talking about angles to take on ball and off ball screen action. And he went in depth, got down, like, showed this is why. And I'm like, it's great that he's showing it. I was a little bit surprised he was showing that in front of us.
Yeah.
Because you know how some coaches get really weird about certain things. Yeah. Like, I thought we were going to get a lot of stretching, a lot of free throw shooting.
Yeah.
We got like 30 minutes of live action.
That's
and
awesome.
Him stopping it, situational play. Defense. I do think that they still need that big sort of presence. I think to put on Trevin, is it Jarek? Uric. Is he okay? Uric. He did have some really good flashes yesterday. The game's still a little bit fast for him right now. And I guess the last quick point, Tavion Banks hit a few threes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's shooting.
He looked comfortable. And Connor Wheeler told us after that he'd been shooting the ball really well. And if Banks can transition to that 3 role while still being physical in the post and play that 4-5, his versatility and his stock is going to really rise with me when we talk about final rotational players or guys you want down the stretch. But he's playing a lot of 3 right now. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting to watch, especially since, still got Cooper Koch back.
Yes.
The only scholarship guy from last year's team. But it was really, really interesting to watch.
That's David Eickholt joining us from HawkeyeInsider.com. That was from last week. Had an opportunity to catch up with David. Wanted to get that to everybody out there and get a little listen to that one. I heard at the beginning of the interview as he was talking about something that has now happened as Cash Herrera has made his commitment to Indiana. But thanks as always to David for his time as we continue here on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Caitlin Clark. It's been a frustrating sophomore year in the WNBA for her. Another injury, does not play last night in the game for the Fever against the LA Sparks. Likelihood, though nothing has been announced yet, don't anticipate she's going to play Friday against Dallas. But this is not going well. And what's the reason for it? We'll talk a little CC, Caitlin Clark, when we come back on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Trent Condon back with you one final time. This is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily Hawkeye podcast. Each and every day, we got your team covered. Mention next week, I am going to be on vacation. Do still have some episodes coming your way. We will be talking about a couple of the opponents for Iowa coming up next year. We'll be talking with Jacob Goings, Locked On Hoosiers, and also on the Locked On Ducks front, we'll be joined by Spencer McLaughlin. That's coming your way next week on the program. Before we start to ramp up, I will also be in Las Vegas for Big Ten Football Media Days. Full coverage from Las Vegas coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to going out and seeing all the people in Vegas and having a good time out there while doing a little bit of work. And that'll be coming your way here in the 3rd week of July. Let's talk about 22, CC, Caitlin Clark. And after the shooting performance that we saw earlier in the week, 1 of 23 in her last 23 3-point attempts, though the team won against Seattle a couple of nights ago, you could tell that she was off. And I didn't think it was anything at a huge level. You look at the 0 for 6. I mean, 4 of those were just off by millimeters, right? She was close. Now, she was also off on quite a bit of the shots, but she's been wrapped up. She's got a groin injury. And the question is, does that go hand in hand with the injury that she was dealing with earlier in the season with the quad injury? And overcompensation very well could be a possibility, as we know, with injuries. I mean, we go back to Game 7 of the NBA Finals, right? And what happened with Tyrese Halliburton, who was dealing with the calf injury, which in turn possibly led to the Achilles injury. And I'm not a doctor, and I will not play one here on the podcast. However, speculation is that those kind of injuries, it would make sense. Overcompensating leads to another injury that is happening there. Something else, though, to maybe put in the back of your mind is she came into the season looking different physically. She added weight, she added strength to her frame. And if that is something, if there's some kind of correlation that could be happening there, it has been, from the standards that were expected from Indiana, a disappointing season. We obviously know the importance of Caitlin to that team, but you couple it with the other components. Duana Bonner leaving the team now after getting cut, and a possibility of some things happening in her personal life that has led to this has not been a very happy experience. Now, the Fever go out and get the 3rd all-time leading scorer in WNBA history in Bonner. They're thinking they got something. She's also 37, and she looked like she was 37 in long stretches of this season. he still had the belief that Caitlin Clark is going to be fine, that she's going to figure things out, that she's going to find a way to get it done. But there's also times that she doesn't look like she's having a whole lot of fun. I know that's kind of part of her personality. There are times that she has got the stiff upper lip, right? Putting out the jaw, doing those kind of things that make Cece what she is, but it has not been the season that many people anticipated. They were the second or third betting choice, depending on where you're looking at coming into the season, to win a WNBA title. Get healthy. Now, they have the Commissioner's Cup Championship game coming up on Tuesday. And I would anticipate the WNBA, more than anything, wants her to play. After Sunday, outside of that game on Tuesday, there isn't another game to be played again until Thursday. It's a gap. It's a gap when there's not a ton going on sport-wise, and it's an opportunity to get a lot of eyeballs on the WNBA and specifically on Caitlin Clark. But this is a big picture. And windows can close very quickly in any sport, as we see year after year after year. The ability is there. And with Minnesota dealing with their own injury with Collier, there's still a shot for this team to make a run. Liberty are really good. They haven't played great lately. Lynx have been outstanding before the Collier injury. And then after that, it's a lot of question marks. But ultimately, you have to get Caitlin Clark healthy and get some of that joy back. And seeing the smiles and seeing the logo threes actually going down. Look, she was getting her shot. That flip to the left, fade to the left, that's her shot. They haven't been falling. Hopefully it is just as simple as a little bit of time off the hardwood, and she's going to be good to go. Let's hope that is the case. This is Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily Iowa podcast, your team every day. Thanks to everybody out there for listening in. Again, hit that 5-star review if you're listening on the podcast side. It really does help us with the metrics and getting the SEO and everything else that goes along with it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. It's what you can do to help us out and get us in front of more Hawkeye fans. And a shout out to you everydayers with us each and every day. Couldn't do it without you who join us on a daily basis. Next week, vacation time, still going to have content coming your way, and then we'll be back full bore the week after that. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you again next week with some crossover editions of Locked On Hawkeyes, previewing a couple of football matchups next season with the Hoosiers and the Ducks, a couple of important ones for Iowa football, certainly for next season. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.